So for this election, I think the real issue will come down to vision for a post-Brexit future. And that has to do with the policies. So not just, we talk a lot about leadership, it has to do with the policies. Who is putting forward the best growth plan, and the best growth plan that creates sustainable jobs, thinks of climate change, thinks about all of the things that will give us a brighter future. For me, when I look at those lists of policies over the next few weeks and those that have already come out, I'm looking for who's got the best ideas that mean that instead of focusing on the budget deficit, we're focusing on how to grow the economy in order to pay that off. The big thing that keeps coming up again and again is how can we afford this? How can we afford not to? How can we not have a vision of something better for this country? The status quo isn't working. And when we look to how we get this money, there are some very smart and different ideas out there. So of course, there's things about tax. There's also things about what we should do to invest to borrow. There have been so many lies put out, myths put out about public debt. We don't need to be worrying about public debt. We need to be worrying about how we make sure we have people in good, sustainable jobs going forward. We know that young people are finding it very hard to find secure work. We know that they're in huge amounts of debt if they go to university, much more than previous generations. And we know that they are not able to find housing, and all of those things together are a problem for right now. And when we look ahead to climate change, technological change, we are facing a situation where young people are going to be in a world that is not ready for all of those problems. And if we don't invest now, if we don't make sure that we have the infrastructure, that we are teaching our young people the right skills, that we are not burdening them with huge amounts of debt, then we are really going to come to a point whereby we just can't function as a proper society, and the economy is completely failing us. And it's not meant to be the case that we work for the economy. The economy is meant to work for us. This is a very, very important time to be getting these policies right. And so it's really frustrating for someone like me, and yes, I'm a policy geek, I'm an economist, but it's really frustrating for someone like me to hear these endless conversations about, who you like as a leader. It's not who you like as a leader, it's who's going to give us that vision, who's going to give us a different world. And as someone that's also a millennial and also worried about the future and also going to have to live it, I don't want to hear from people that aren't talking about how they're going to invest for our future. Look, we don't have a choice. We have to be optimistic about the future. If we're not optimistic, we'll sit down, we won't do anything, we'll feel sorry for ourselves. We have to get up, we have to get on. And look what's happened over the last year, things that young people wouldn't have wanted to see. The only way in which to operationalize that optimism is to go out, is to be active, is to vote. We have to be at the forefront of these conversations. Our voices aren't being heard right now, and that's why we're going in the wrong direction. We have to be really not reading some of the redhot papers. So it's not just about the discussions that are had in places like the convention. These actually aren't often very inclusive and don't speak to lots of the people out there that need to hear a different message. So what we do about breaking the strength of some of that very negative press that tells you that you don't vote for a brighter future, don't care about immigration, don't look at policies, look at the leaders. It's very frustrating to have that constant pushback. There's very little room for progressive messages and for people that think differently. And so all of us have to go out and do the Googling, looking up things, looking up alternative information, because the facts are out there. It's just that you're often not being told them.